Okay, this is a A2 level biology video about succession. And succession is kind of like a process in which new species are able to grow and survive in a kind of order. So they're able to survive in an area, but it has to go in a specific order in order for them to survive. And you will start the succession using what's called a pioneer species. So a pioneer species is able to colonise hostile conditions. An example of a pioneer species could be marram grass on the beach. So if you walk along the beach, that's a very hostile condition because there's a lack of fresh water and the soil is not good to grow in. So the pioneer species would be marram grass. What the pioneer species do is they have very long roots. And what the long roots do is they actually stabilise the soil. They kind of hold it together, and it makes it more suitable for other plants to grow. And they also, on their roots, they have what's called nitrogen fixing bacteria. And when you do the nitrogen cycle, you learn more about these. They actually fix nitrogen containing compounds into nitrates. And that's, if you remember how proteins are formed, nitrates form amino acids, which can form proteins, which the plants use to grow. So obviously then, the new species are able to survive as the environment has kind of changed and the conditions have become less hostile. So the new species, they're able to survive better, and the new species that grow, they'll be better competitors to the previous species. So the pioneer species, these new species would be better competitors than them. And this will basically just continue along a line, and in a moment you'll see a kind of horizontal version of this that you'll see a lot in exams. But also the amount of bare ground, as succession continues, the amount of bare ground decreases because there are more plants growing. Genetic and species diversity will increase, and the soil depth will actually increase as well because of the death of older plants. So when older plants die, they will actually go into the ground and form thicker soil. And the death of the older plants, that actually provides the soil with more nitrates because obviously they will contain nitrogenous compounds. So to put this into more context, move over there. Thank you. To put this into more context, I have here a kind of succession horizontal line, and you'll see these a lot in exams. They like to use these. So at the start here you have the beach, and the beach has very kind of thin soil that isn't very good for growing in. It makes the conditions quite hostile. And here you have the pioneer species, which is marram grass. So the pioneer species can actually colonise this hostile condition. They have their very long branching roots to stabilise the soil and produce nitrates for the soil. So when they die, the soil will become deeper, and a different species is able to survive because the conditions have become less hostile. So say that's heather. So if you're on a beach and you're walking from the beach in towards the forest, the next species you'll see is likely to be heather or some kind of bush like that. They again will die, make the soil deeper, and the next species to survive will be bushes and small trees like pine trees or small trees like that, and they will be better competitors than the previous species, and they are better adapted to the conditions that they live in because the conditions have become, I'd say, more specific. So they have to have more specific characteristics than the marram grass did. Then the final kind of species to evolve with the much thicker soil will be the species that include the climax community. So the climax community is the most stable community because it has the most species diversity. If you can see here, there are lots of different bushes and trees. And that's the most stable community because it has a wider species diversity, and obviously there's more habitats and more food. So yeah, that's about it. So in an exam, if you get something looking like this, you'll know what to expect. You'll know that the end one is likely to be the climax community, and the first one is likely to be the pioneer species. Okay, so just remember that. Then also, if there was, say, to be a fire on the climax community, normally the pioneer species are adapted to survive in very hot conditions, or even to germinate better in hot conditions. So that means they're going to germinate when the fire has ended. So if the fire were to burn out the climax community, the pioneer species are going to come along and colonise it again, because they will be germinated. And that's quite common for a pioneer species.